Let's podcast After Dark alongside Joe Giglio, who is at PNC Arena, still at PNC Arena up on the 5th floor. I am Joe Ovies back at Eford Studios. And before we start, I want to point out two things. Joe, I got your owl. You see your owl?
Pointing the wrong way.
See your owl?
Pointing the wrong way.
You're pointing the
There
wrong
it is.
way. I got you.
No,
I got you an AI-generated owl for the After Dark. And more importantly, number two, welcome aboard Crank Arm Brewing, downtown Raleigh. They're going to be presenting these After Darks. They'll be joining us on the main podcast as well, doing the Hey Joes. But there will be time for beer later in the week because what do we do after the Canes win? What do we do in the Canes series, baby? Which is what they did against another wild ass. I think that's enough for tonight. And maybe a little bit more, especially after I drank an entire bottle of White Zin earlier. Well, not an entire bottle, but that's another story for later. We'll save that story for tomorrow. No, the Carolina Hurricanes wrapped the series against the Islanders, Joe, with another insane third period. 2 goals, 8 seconds. Rick Pitino was impressed. And frankly speaking, this is look, I looked over at Luke DeCock on press row and I said, I know it's not because it's a first round series versus the Stanley Cup, but my gosh, I have not seen something that dumb by a goalie since Ty Conklin in 2006, man. I don't know what Varlamov was doing after he got his footing in the second period and made this thing really interesting, 3-3 going into the third. And that sequence, one was a defensive breakdown by the Islanders that Jack Drury took advantage of. And then losing the faceoff followed by misplaying the puck the way that he did. I don't even know what the hell that was, but that was a wrap right then and there, man.
Yeah. First of all, he was really bad in the first period. He can eat a bag of dicks for giving up 2 goals in like 8 seconds. So thank you for ruining.
Yeah.
Thank you for ruining that parlay, sir.
Yeah, RIP the parlay. I actually heard from Alec Campbell who said, well, so much for that parlay. I'm like, after we gave you a shout out on the podcast today, huh?
I know. No, I thought he was really bad in the first period, but I also thought the Hurricanes were good. But that's what we wanted to see. And then, I'll break a little bit of code here. I just saw Tom Dundon walking out of the locker room. He called me fat. So that was number one.
Whoa.
But number two, as I had to tell him about the second period, they have good players too. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to just tip your hat to the Islanders and the way that they came back in the second period in this game. Would have been really easy for them to just go away. As I've said before, their talent level is not commensurate with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
And yet there were long stretches in this period where they did outplay the Carolina Hurricanes, especially there in the second period to tie it up. And then once it's so funny, Joe, you come over here and you sit upstairs and it is a great vantage point to watch the game. Unbelievable. Yep. But you don't feel actually what's going on until you get down into that lower bowl. I like to go into that corner, watch the third period. That's where I watched Game 7, 18 years ago now. And that's where I'm comfortable watching the final periods. And once that roar starts, I think even Patrick Waugh, who's got his name on the cup a couple different times, after the handshakes were over, was walking out, looking up, and kind of like, all right, the old Montreal Garden, looked like this a little bit, right? The old buildings, hockey is different, right? And I think even he was impressed, and it's hard not to be once the building really gets roaring the way that it was in the third period with those two, with the goals. Drury, first of all, great finish. We've talked a lot about these last 6 years. They just don't have guys who finish. They put the puck on net. And it's like, no, that was a nice finish by Drury.
Yeah.
And then of course the mistake by I guess Harry Potter said his name or some shit. I don't know. Hey, he was really bad in the first and third periods. Like he was really bad. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. He was bad. The Teravainen goal shouldn't have happened 8 freaking seconds into the game or whatever the hell it ended up being. Obviously, he recovered in the second period, but the third, the damage was obviously done.
Yeah, the damage was done. A couple thoughts on that. I thought that the game had been wrapped with the Kuznetsov penalty shot.
Probably should have been.
That to me, I thought was the backbreaker. And I mean, he downright disrespected Varlamov with the way that he waited and waited and waited, and then just got it right past him with 13:32. And the other thing, I mean, not that we're hockey savants here, Joe, but we talked about this with the Carolina Hurricanes. If you want to win the game, don't go to multiple overtimes, which they did not do tonight.
Check.
Check. Win faceoffs, which was crucial tonight, and they actually went about the business of doing that. They were 64% in the first period. I want to say they were back in a similar. I can't read my own notes here, but I think they were back at a similar clip in the second period. I think they finished the game at around a 60% clip on winning the faceoffs, which was just not there for them in Game 4, where they could have wrapped this thing up on the island. But they absolutely get it done. But here's where I would like the Canes, now that we know that the series is over and they're going to be taking on the Rangers, and what they have to clean up is second periods as a whole, which, as we talked about on the podcast earlier today, and it was pointed out to us by one of our listeners, Gary, with a handy dandy stat sheet. And I know you built one of the parlays based on how the Canes had been playing in the second period, where they've dominated in the second period. That was not the case throughout this entire series. What we saw in the second period today was very much in line with what we've seen with the entirety of the series. When it's all said and done, the Carolina Hurricanes got outscored 6-2 in the second period. They were outscored 2-0 in this game. But to me, what I didn't like, and thankfully everybody's okay, I did not like Freddie Anderson acting like it was SummerSlam 2000 here at PNC Arena.
Shane McMahon.
Trying to go after Anders Lee. I mean, I get that you don't want to be clipped again, but let Tony DeAngelo handle that, which he did, and he got called for roughing.
Yeah, Tony DeAngelo probably broke a bone, by the way. We saw him leave with the orthopedic doctor. He was clearly walking to the x-ray area with ice on one of the arms there. So that's not a great development for the Hurricanes. And it is an injury you could potentially play with, assuming he can hold his stick, which is in play. There's pain shots for all that, though.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can take for that. And DeAngelo, I thought, put in the situation that he was in with the Brett Pesce injury. We don't know the status of Pesce going into the next series. Maybe, you giveth, taketh. The hockey gods might bring Pesce back. I don't know. We'll see. But DeAngelo, I thought, played a pretty good game tonight, all things considered. And the Anderson, but back to the Anderson thing, which I think directly led to the Islanders finding a way to get back in this game. To your point, the Islanders are good too. I get that stuff. But I felt that the Canes needlessly did things that put the Islanders in a position to feel comfortable. And I didn't like the way that Freddie Anderson did that. As given the fragile goalie situation the Carolina Hurricanes have seen all year long with all their goalies, you don't want to see that, even if you're upset with the way things have been going against the Islanders and Anders Lee. And I thought the Islanders did a good job taking advantage of that, as Freddie Anderson got a little shaky there. The Canes also got a little shaky there. They let Varlamov get a little bit more confidence. But of course, all that goes out the window when you score 2 goals in 8 seconds, man. 2 goals in 8 seconds. All right. Speaking of Kuznetsov, which I thought initially was going to be the backbreaker. You talked to Kuzi after the game, and I enjoyed the breakdown of his penalty shot.
Is it possible to set a record for longest penalty shot?
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. You have a little clock in your head on that? Or?
No. Yeah. I almost lost the puck holder.
Are you familiar with the basketball term, if you reach, I teach?
No.
That's what it felt like. It felt like the goalie moved and you taught him a little bit.
Yeah. It was, always was. I was always dreaming to have a shootout, like when a big moment like that. It's not, when it's after the games, but one of those I never had before. So it was good emotions.
Couldn't have asked for a better start to the game as a team.
Yeah, but they fought back. They got back, and there was a 3-3 tight game, and it could go either way. And I'm glad that we continue working and get those 2 goals.
Kuznetsov, after game 1, you said the team had to get better as this series went along. As the series would go along, what areas of the game do you feel like you guys got better as a team?
Oh, I don't know. Every game is different, but after first game, I felt like they were on top of us. But I think the rest of the series, there was a back and forth, and I thought they played well, and it's just one of those when we believe ourselves and got the goals end of the game.
You had attempted that move twice now with Carolina shootouts against Toronto and Washington. How good was it to finally get it to convert for the team?
I never attempted this one. It was a different one.
I mean, the slow penalty shot.
Nah, it's a different move.
Nuance.
I mean, again, follow up. Like when you came here, you were saying whatever the team asks of you, whatever it takes. But it seems, big goals, big moments. It seems almost, kind of what you're familiar with doing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's, been playing for a long time and always been playing 15, 20 minutes, and it's not easy, having a different role, but, that's sometimes what it takes, and I'm accepting that, and I want to play for the team. I want to help the team, and, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's scoring the goals. It's about if we can execute our roles and we can work for each other and get those, good wins.
How does it feel to help the team advance?
So that was Kuznetsov after the game talking about his penalty shot there.
Who knew the Giglio charm translated to Russian? Look at that, man.
I like that.
Rizzing him up.
You rizzed him up with some basketball knowledge. I enjoyed that. All right, Joe. We are set to talk to Luke DeCock of the News and Observer. Also, Mike Maniscalco is going to drop on by from Valley Sports. People are already talking about the Rangers. We got SB. Rangers are plus 120 to win the series. A bit surprising. I think Canes fans, I've seen this a couple times in the YouTube chat, right? In fact, SB actually added to this before the plus 120. Is it fair to say the Canes played a B- at best in this series, not feeling great about the Rangers? This was another.
Styles make fights, man. Styles make fights.
From Apex Baker on YouTube, do we keep getting the good bounces versus the Rangers, and can we get back to our team game against a better team than the Isles? And yeah, I think these are completely different things, completely different teams, completely different lineups, and way you go about it. Did the Canes play at their best against the Islanders? No, I don't think they did. I don't think they ever really played a complete game in these 5 games that we've seen in the first round, Joe. But I'm not going to read too much into it going into the Islanders series.
It was written in the stars, man, and I'm not smart enough to tell you how exactly the Peter Laviolette and Rod Brindamore are different, but I can tell you that you're gonna look in the mirror a little bit. And the Rangers, the thing that Lavi does that first year is he gets the best out of them in that first year. But the truth of the matter is the Canes are built to play that style better than the Rangers are built to play the same style. And I advanced the theory downstairs. John Eisner, Greensboro, huge Caniac, literally 6'7".
Right.
I said, it's written in the stars, man. You're going to beat Lavi, then you're going to beat Mo. And I think maybe the Oilers are the ones waiting here 3rd week of June. What do you think?
Man, I mean, I was going to say,
think?
If it feels like 06, then yes, maybe the Oilers are the team that you're going to see.
The Death Star being fully built here. You got to get through your mentor, man. You got to get through him.
This is true.
He's going to hate all of the questions. Rod, that is. I'm sure they'll start tonight. He will hate the ones tonight. He'll hate them the rest of the week. But I wouldn't worry about the way that the Hurricanes played in this series, right? Like, think about it last year. Think of it in these terms. The Florida Panthers left here, and you were like, Matthew Tkachuk is like Mark Messier and Gordie Howe all rolled into one, and Bobrovsky is Patrick Waugh and Martin Brodeur, and they're going to roll the Knights, and they took a dump in their pants and they lost. So, one series doesn't translate to another series. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. I know Luke will tell you the Hurricanes do need to play better.
Yes, they do.
But I wouldn't sit here and say, oh my gosh, this is what the Canes did against the Islanders. It won't translate to what the Rangers are going to do. Rangers are certainly a better team than the Islanders, but that's cool. Crank arm, by the way.
Yeah.
OGs, man. They're OGs.
They are. Been downtown for a long time, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. Let's bring on Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. We were talking about the Rangers, Luke.
Yes.
The easy thing for people to talk about, given what we've seen out of the Canes in this series against the Islanders, they win, but I don't think anybody comes away from this being really thrilled with what they saw, how they went about doing this, what the periods were like throughout this entire series, giving the Islanders a chance. But I think it's dangerous to read too much into what we saw against this particular team that plays the way that they play versus what the Rangers might do. Do they have to play better? Yes, they do. I think everybody understands that, but I'm not going to read too much.
Sorry, I missed the last. Was there? They have to play better, and
they have to play better. And does it matter what we saw in this series? When it comes
it does because you need to find your game. You need to be able to draw on it consistently. And I think if there's a positive out of this game, it's the way they rallied in the third. after giving him, the lead back in the second. That's a tester, and you don't always get that back. So I think that's a positive sign, but there's no question. They played one really good game. They played one game with 2 periods. They played good in spurts, played well in spurts. But this isn't good enough to beat the Rangers, who are, the Hurricanes' strengths in this series. A lot of times were special teams and goaltending. That's probably a battle that the Rangers are going to win, and you're going to have to beat the Rangers 5-on-5. So going into the night, they'd scored 6 goals 5-on-5. That's not good enough. Tonight was better, and you got the Jack Drury, the changes to the lines. Rod Brunner will say, "Oh, you guys make too much of who's playing with who." But putting Jack Drury with those players tonight was a huge factor. Keeping the Aho, Svechnikov, Gensel line together was a huge factor, in part because Svechnikov played so well. Jordan Staal was not on the ice for a 5-on-5 goal against in the entire series. So, there are certainly some positives there. I think tonight was better. The second period is concerning because that's a period where the Hurricanes really should have put their boot on the neck of the Islanders and choked this thing out. But they went and did it in the third. And they did it. They got some luck. The Nason goal is obviously a fluky goal.
Yep.
But you need those bounces. You need it to make it work. And all we were really missing was a Jake Gensel empty net goal at the end.
Do we know when the Rangers series is going to start?
We don't. There's a couple things going on here. There are still a lot of playoff series going on, and the NHL traditionally has hesitated jumping the gun too much with 1 or 2 series.
Yeah.
The other thing is if they have plenty of television inventory, which right now they do with a bunch of series going on, including Leafs Bruins going to 6, they don't need the series to start. And that's really their number one consideration, is making sure they can fill their television windows, don't have to give any back. The third is the Knicks lost tonight. This series is going to start at the Garden.
Right.
We are not going to be able to schedule this series till they have a better idea of what the Knicks schedule is like. Now, maybe they have contingency plans for that, but you put all 3 of those things together, and it's really tough to expect the NHL to come up with a schedule for this one right away. So I think it may be a day or 2 before we get a sense. They may be able to announce games 1 and 2. Certainly the PNC side of it is easier, but the complication of the other series, the Knicks, and the fact that they still have plenty of television inventory leads me to believe we're going to have a little bit of a break here.
Okay, that makes sense. I also think that Patrick Ewing being in the building tonight for the Knicks to lose will just give Bill Simmons more ammunition for his next podcast. Can't even win with Patrick Ewing in the building? Come on now.
How about Nick Nurse breaking his hand, slamming the scorer's table? That's some hockey stuff.
Speaking of breaks, I haven't heard anything from Brendan Moore's press conference. I know you're just leaving that. Do we have any sort of updates on Tony DeAngelo?
Yeah, in Brendan Moore, to quote Elon Musk, found it concerning. The Pierre Engvall,
he had a backwards cowboy hat on. I hope
the Pierre Engvall slash on DeAngelo definitely removed him from the game. Went uncalled, which is the Hurricanes are certainly going to voice their concern to the league with. But what can you do? It's not like you can take revenge on Pierre Engvall. And we never did get the Jean Gabriel Pajot, Teuvo Teravainen fight that we were all hoping and expecting.
Yeah, I know you wanted to see it.
No, DeAngelo went for x-rays. They don't have any info yet. We'll find out more tomorrow. Certainly, if DeAngelo is hurt and if Brett Pesce was out for this series and beyond, certainly five games is probably not enough to get Brett Pesce back. Now you're looking at potentially Dylan Coghlan or Scott Morrow for game 1, which is a wild set of circumstances. But certainly the Hurricanes will be hoping for good news on DeAngelo and those x-rays.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about next as it relates to Brett Pesce and tying back to when this Rangers series might actually start. I mean, if we're going to be waiting a while, I mean, that's got to be good in the grand scheme of things for Pesce, right?
Yeah, I think it's good in the grand scheme of things in a couple ways. I think you could see Frederik Andersen wearing down a little bit tonight, making his 5th straight start. The first 2 goals were deflections, but still, and obviously whatever happened on the 3rd goal, it looked like Ron Francis in Game 3 against the Devils 23 years ago, falling over. Not great.
That's a deep cut.
Deep cut. Hey, I got all kinds of deep cuts for Lou Lamoriello tonight. If you want them.
I saw Lou. Joe, I don't know if you saw Lou, but he was very casual and he was getting into the elevator earlier today.
This is the 6th straight time he's been eliminated by the Hurricanes, so he should be used to it.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. And we'll close on this, Luke, because I know you got to go get to writing here, and I don't know if this could be part of your column. But speaking of 6 straight times, this is now the 6th time, 6 year in a row where the Carolina Hurricanes have advanced. It's one thing. This is a complete change in the dynamic of how we talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. Joe and I have talked about it in the context of tailgating. We've talked about it in the context of tailgating. You got to pace yourself. But the fact that we have this luxury problem of, hey, Canes keep advancing. You got to keep, as you like to say, your powder dry. But this is uncharted territory for this organization, and I can't think of any other direct tie other than Rod Brind'Amour has completely changed this. I can understand why there's interest in Rod Brind'Amour from other teams. Rod Brind'Amour's contract is the Canes are moving to Quebec when it comes to Toronto media. That's going to be an obsession point. But I mean, you look at this direct line and you look at the culture change, and it all goes back to Rod. And it's really freaking impressive, man, if we've been around this team for 20 plus years.
Yeah, it is. And obviously Rod Brind'Amour was part of the first culture change when you go back to the move and when Jim Rutherford couldn't go and buy great players. So he bought players with character. And obviously Rod was a great player too. But when you look at the players they acquired, it was largely veterans who were guys that they could afford, and what they lacked in skill, they made up for in leadership. So Rod certainly has done that as a coach. I mean, look, let's not put too fine a point on this. They went from being one of the lowest payroll teams in the league for the 10 years they missed the playoffs to spending to the cap. Mm-hmm. That makes a huge difference. That's a player or two. That's the difference between being a 90-point team and a 100-point team, or a 95-point team and a 105-point team, or a Kirk Muller team and a Rod Brind'Amour team. I don't know that Kirk Muller could have done that much better with 100% cap payroll, but certainly Rod Brind'Amour came in and reinstilled the culture that had brought this franchise a lot of success sporadically, but still a lot of success in sort of the first generation of the Hurricanes in 02 and 06 and 09. So yeah, a ton of credit there. Obviously the fact that he isn't re-signed, that didn't get done before the playoffs is a concern. That's kind of a matter of degrees at this point, but that is a big part of it. And the other part of it is, and this gets lost, right? We talk about the tailgating and all that stuff. Nobody's done this in 24 years. Right. Counting the preliminary round in the bubble. Nobody's won a playoff round in 6 straight seasons since the Red Wings from 95 to 2000, which is one of the great juggernaut pre-cap dynasties of all time. So that's a tremendous accomplishment. And as much as you, as a team or as a franchise, the players don't care because they have their eyes set on something bigger, and this is just the beginning. It's important to stop and take stock of that. That is a tremendous accomplishment. Like, the Maple Leafs have lost their opening series 6 of the last 7 years, maybe 7 of the last 8 years. And the Hurricanes are just the complete opposite of that. And look, this is a 5-game series. It will go down as shorter than last year's series against the Islanders. This was never an easy series. They had to fight for this. This took everything they had. And there's reservoirs of experience and knowledge that have been built up over the previous 5 years that certainly helped them at 3-3 tonight. And help them come back out for that next period and play the way they had to play to close out the Islanders, win the series. We're all looking forward to a couple days off before we head up to Manhattan. And what's going to be should be a very, very hard fought series against Pierre Laviolette, who certainly will know what he's getting into.
Joe's been talking about going through destiny, right? I mean,
Laviolette, Maurice.
Look, if it feels like 83, it feels like, if it feels like 2006. I mean, it's not lost on me that Kevin Keats and DJ Burns are the first period siren sounder and the third period siren sounder, and the Canes dominated. You tell me NC State shit isn't dead? You tell me NC State shit isn't dead? I disagree. All right, Luke, we'll talk to you later, man.
All right, see you guys.
That's Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. Hold on a second. Let me bring back the owl, Joe. Let's bring back the owl.
Yeah, don't discombobulate me.
I know. You want Jackson likes the owl. That's important. Jackson's watching. This is key. I would say this about the Rod Brind'Amour contract situation and all that stuff. It all tracks very much with Tom Dundon. I mean, contract negotiations with Tom Dundon never seem to go easy. So I'm not exactly surprised by that when it comes to Rod Brind'Amour, but that's stuff we can talk about whenever the season comes to a close. Any other thoughts, Joe?
On this game?
Or do you want to complete your thought on Crank Arm?
Let's complete about Crank Arm real quick, because Joe, I'm 49 this year. I spent my 40th birthday. We were at the Crank Arm, man. I mean, that, speaking of written in the stars, love it.
Yeah, we were. I was at Crank Arm on. Now that I'm thinking about it, geez,
that's where we started the day. So we
did start the day there. Jeez,
they've been downtown. Yeah, they've been downtown. They got their own niche over there. I love it. And you know more about beer than I do.
Yeah,
I know they make a great flavored beer though.
They do, and I was actually there on Sunday for their Mayfest, and they had they called it My Bike instead of a My Bach for their Springfest, and it was really, really good. Caught up with Adam and Mike, got talking about the Canes and everything else, and downtown and everything else, and bringing people back downtown. Crank Arms is front and center when it comes to that stuff. It's a really cool area in that part of downtown Raleigh. So here's the other cool part about
for Red Hat shows too, man.
Here's the other cool thing about Crank Arm. You know where you can buy Crank Arm beer? The
Where?
Butcher's Market.
What?
See?
No
Synergy.
way.
Synergy. All of our corporate champions come together for
Let's
the
go.
synergy, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about the synergy. All right. Before Mike Maniscalco is currently getting situated right now, so we'll go to him in just a second. Michael Perry pointing out that Freddie Anderson had an I had the power moment. I don't know. Was he trying to do a lightning round there?
Lightning round.
I don't know if that was the case. I don't know if it's the case. All right, from Trevor, who was your first round MVP? It's got to be Seth Jarvis, right? It was a big night for Harvard with Jack Drury and Seth Jarvis, but I think Seth Jarvis is the easy answer when it comes to the series MVP.
No,
No,
I think it's Freddie. I think it's Freddie. He won game 1. He won game 3. Okay. Yeah, he struggled a bit in the second period today. I still don't love the way he seems to struggle at the end of periods. Again, the Islanders got the late equalizer there at the end of the second period. You could just kind of sense it was coming.
Yeah.
But no, the most valuable player in the series was Freddie Anderson. Period.
Okay. Yeah. From Matt Ovies, I think I saw you between the first and the second period. Great camera angle because it shaves off the beer belly. Chef's kiss.
I think he's talking about me because
no.
I was me and you today.
No, I was walking around between first and second period to catch up with Jacob. Saw some of his Junior Canes team, and yeah, I was walking around. I was down
there too. So
I had the shacket on. So, but yeah, I have a beer belly. Y'all know I got that. Y'all know I got that dad bod. I don't hide the dad bod. Speaking of thick boys, Mike Maniscalco.
Oh, yeah.
Look, we're all thick boys.
Oh, yeah.
We own it. We're all in our 40s.
There was a time when I was skinny and scrawny and athletic.
Back when you played football, way back in the day, back in college?
Believe it or not, yeah, when I scored 4 touchdowns for Polk High in the city championship.
Yeah.
Never did that, but I was a spelt 215 when I played. So there's pictures.
I'd love to see that. We'll have to. Maybe next time we'll post them up here on the.
You know what? I don't think I still have it on the phone, but there's one that I'll send, and you guys will not believe it's me.
All right.
Leave it at that.
That works. All right. Who was your MVP of the series?
I would lean Frederick Anderson just because of the big saves and the timely nature of them. Game 1, he was outstanding. Game 2, he barred the door when he needed to.
Yeah.
And that game got to 3-0. And you take a look at what he did. I think that it kind of put it in the Islanders' minds how hard it was going to be to win this series. But really close behind him is Seth Jarvis. And the fact that you can move him up and down the lines, he makes his line mates better now. He's a driving force for this Carolina Hurricanes team. And I'll go 3 stars. Andrei Svechnikov, even though he doesn't get a goal in the series until tonight.
Oh, it was huge.
He was all over this series, and you know that he was just itching to get into the postseason, but big hits when he needed to. I wasn't a fan of whatever call was against him in this game here tonight, but, that's going to happen. But big hits, passing. He actually, and tonight, he really drove his line. So that was a good thing because Aho and Gensel weren't always going tonight or at times in this series, but Andrei Svechnikov was. So that would be my first, second, and third star for the series.
From Sam, our friend out in the Outer Banks. Go check out his stuff, his work out in the Outer Banks. Did anyone catch Mike working blue in the first period? I'm pretty sure.
I did. I'm the guy who said it.
Okay. What did you say? Because I didn't catch it because I was up in the press box.
A word instead of shot.
Oh,
I tried to say shift and shot.
Look,
it's cable. I'm allowed to do that, right?
Hey, we've all had a shit right on, man. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Like you walk out there going, "Damn, that was good."
You'd rather have it right on than off. That's what I would say.
Exactly. Apparently, you also dropped the Leroy Jenkins in there.
Oh yeah, It was talking about this one was there's stuff, and I'm not going to lie. Guys have their catchphrases, and they're going to say this at whatever point in the game, and good for them. It works for them.
Of course.
For me, I just have this vast repertoire of stupid knowledge, and I never go into a game trying to work it in.
Mm-hmm.
But if I see my opportunity, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So they showed the Canes power play, and it was 33.3%. So I go 33.3% repeating, of course, because the Leroy Jenkins, when they're doing the numbers and they break it down, what's our chance of surviving this? They're like, it's blah, 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 3.3% repeating, of course.
Right.
Or repeating naturally, whatever it was. So I got to work it in early.
I'm making my last cameo of the year because I won't see you for game 7.
Oh, my God. The
Mwah.
fabulous
Have
Shannon
a great
Hogan.
season.
Thank you, Shannon.
I will see you next year.
And a real NHL player who knows what's going on. If you want to talk to Mr. Hickey about the Islanders,
Okay.
Hi, there he is.
What's up, guys? How we
Hey.
doing?
What's
Series
going
was
on?
closer than 4-1, right?
It definitely was. I mean, at the end
The
of the
game
day,
was closer.
it's not like they deserved to win, but it was not telling of how good the series actually was.
See, this is what I do, guys.
How good the series, how close the series was.
No, I think that's
You got a future in this. You should stick with it. Stick with Shannon. This guy's going to be in national TV in like 3, 2, 1. You have done.
But this
You
is
got it,
true,
guys.
though. This is true, and actually, this is something that Joe, you wanna relay the story where apparently Tom Dundon called you fat, and then you relayed to him that the Islanders were actually pretty good still.
Yeah, I mean, he was slightly miffed by the second period, and I was like, yeah, man, they pay their guys too. They have good players, and I thought, again, I look at the way that they play, and maybe not as much under Wah as they've in previous iterations, but I feel like they're just like a poor man's version of the Canes. They play a very similar style to me, and I think the Hurricanes have set a standard in this league, and they're one of the teams that have kind of been like, okay, we can do that. And I think that's kind of the beauty of what the Canes have done, is they've really kind of become this a benchmark in this league.
Yeah, no, and I've relayed this story several times, and I'll do it again, Joe. Rod Brind'Amour is hired as head coach. There's a fan fest, and the team had been wandering in the wilderness forever and hadn't had a playoff appearance in 9 seasons. And it was me and Michael Smith hosting this with Rod Brind'Amour, and the question is, well, what was the goal for the Canes? And a fan just shouted out, make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, everybody goes crazy. And Roddy's like, no. The goal is to be the best team in the league and to be the standard. And I just back what Giglio just said, because you take a look around at how many teams now try to play like the Carolina Hurricanes, and you look at some speedy forwards and puck-moving defensemen and the pressure that they put on the penalty kill. I mean, that's all from Carolina. It really is. And 6 years is something I don't want to sneeze at. I really don't. This team has won, and I have to say postseason, because the NHL doesn't view that first round in the bubble as playoffs, but it's playoff numbers, but it's not playoff wins.
No, but it counts.
6 straight years with a postseason series victory is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this group is at right now. Now, we're all going to start at some point to focus on the next round. But I look at this. The Islanders were tough. This was a tough out. This was one of these teams where if you fell asleep on them, they could do good things. And luckily for Carolina, Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat didn't really wake up until games 4 and 5 for the Islanders.
Yeah.
Because you saw what a handful those two could be as this series moved along. But, when the Canes needed it, their best players came up with, or their players they need to come up with big performances really shined. And the goaltending was good pretty much all the way throughout.
I saw the Webb's Michael Smith on the concourse today. I hadn't seen him in a while, so good to catch up with him.
Always.
Also saw Coop in the building too, so that's nice to see. But all the old Caniacs coming through. All right, Mike, before we say goodbye, and we appreciate the help, and we'll keep doing this in the next round. I think the concern that I've seen in the comments, the concern that I've seen on social media is the way that the Canes played against the Islanders. As one of our viewers called the Islanders, from Mike Jones, the Islanders were the great value Canes, the Kirkland brand Carolina Hurricanes, if you will. This has caused concern for the New York Rangers. how we talked to Luke about this, and he says, yeah, look, the way that the Canes played against the Islanders does matter in how you view things with the New York Rangers.
Sure.
I don't want to go so far with that because we've seen from series to series things completely change, and the lineups matter, the matchups matter, all those types of things. Home ice advantage matters. But how do you view this coming off, getting it done in 5, an adventure to get it done in 5, going up against the President's Trophy winner, whenever that might happen, because we could be waiting until this weekend to see the series start.
Well, I think getting it done early for anybody who has any bump or bruise coming out of this series, for anything that happened, Tony DeAngelo took a slash and he had to get an x-ray. So we'll see where that is.
Yeah.
Look, as the playoffs move along, it does become a war of attrition of who do you have left, who's in your lineup, who do you got to put where, because I don't think anybody's at 100% when you talk about their health and where it's at. So to get it done early, to take the time to get everything that you need to with head athletic trainer Doug Bennett and with Billy Burniston, the head strength and conditioning coach, and just make sure everybody is as optimal as they can be this time of year. That's the big deal with wrapping this thing up instead of having to go back to the island and play game number 6. The other thing, and I mean, I don't know if you want to be encouraged by this. I mean, we know how this works, right, guys? If it's not going well, it's all hand wringing and it'll never get better. Mm-hmm. If it's going really great, well, at some point in time, the floor's got to drop out on this ride, right? It's just human nature how we're at. This Canes team, the best game they played was game 2, and they fell down 3-0, stormed back, come back for the ages. It was great. This team knows there's another level that they can play at, and they're going to have to do it against the Rangers. Now, that being said, when I watch the Rangers play, yes, they won the President's Trophy. Yes, they won the Metro Division. Yes, they dispatched the Washington Capitals, but they're not infallible. And they were not going to lose Giglio because they won the President's Trophy. I saw you. I just saw you over there.
You can see Giglio like, what
are you telling me? But you're going to have to create a little bit more havoc in front of Igor Shesterkin. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to. You cannot take silly penalties against the Rangers because that power play is just too damn good. I don't care how good the Canes penalty kill is. You can't play with fire on this one, Scarecrow, because you're asking for it to burn down. But overall, I got to stop hitting this thing. Overall, the thing I take out of the Canes didn't play their best. And you know what's a good thing for that? They still found ways to win.
Yeah.
That to me is, if I extract anything out of this series, I know they can play better. They'll get to it, and we'll see what happens. But from here on out, the teams, I know that Toronto won, but Florida, the Rangers, Carolina, and it looks like it eventually will be Boston. And thanks to our good friends at Roback. I wish I could wear my Roback shirt instead of the shirt and tie right now.
I mean, pretty soon you'll be able to, right? You can be going radio only, right?
Oh, trust me. It's going to be Comfort City depending on the venue.
Let's go. I'm going to need you in a Canes tank top at some point during the radio broadcast, so that'll be a lot of fun. Oh yeah,
do that.
We're gonna have it's summertime. We're totally gonna have like a tank top weekend post game. I'm very excited about this. We're gonna make this
all in.
All right,
Mike. All right, guys.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for the help this round.
Anytime.
Mike is brought to you by Roback. Check them out online, roback.com. RHO back. Use that promo code OG20 when you order at roback.com. Giglio's rocking the double Roback today. You've got that North State polo, which is super, super comfy. You got that quarter zip on top of that. I know there's currently an effort with the folks at Roback to get me into a polo. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if. Wait, you muted yourself, dude. Unmute yourself. There we go.
I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I want you in a polo. Yeah.
What? Okay.
I don't know if you're worthy enough of the Roback polo. I'm just being honest with you.
I have not. I've looked on the Roback website. You showed me some of their
fish tacos.
Prints. The fish taco prints off the charts, dude. It's fantastic. I might have to pull it up. We can talk about it tomorrow. Do they have? I've seen this on the golf course. I'm pretty sure I saw. Oh geez, what's his face with the flat brim cap that everybody wants to win all the time? He used to be Puma, or he still was.
Ricky.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So he had, I'm pretty sure at one point in time, he had like a full-on short sleeve button down.
Right.
I need if Roback can do a full short sleeve button down in a print, I'd rock that. Because
Okay.
you know me in polos, like me
We'll
and
work
polos,
on it.
we don't get along. We don't get along.
No.
All right. All the camera tricks for me to hide the beer gut, it doesn't work on a polo for me. All right. I'm a black t-shirt, shacket, plaid. I need that. I need the button down. So if they can rock that, I'm all about it. But I don't know. Maybe I'll surprise you ahead of the U.S. Open. We'll see.
Rhoback, RHO back, Rhoback, OG20, save 20%. Totally, completely worth it. Best golf shirts I've ever put on. This quarter zip is crazy comfortable. I actually did play in the pullover, the hoodie.
Yeah.
Last the weekend I did, and I was like, I played in the morning. It was a little bit cooler. You know me, I'm very particular when it comes to what I do during golf, and
I'm aware.
Super comfortable, man. Just great.
I'm aware. All right, that's going to wrap up this OG After Dark. Again, big thanks to Crank Arm Brewing for jumping on board while we do these OG After Darks throughout the playoffs. Go check them out in downtown Raleigh. Go buy their beer in package wherever your best bottle shops are. Better yet, go to the Butcher's Market, get some stuff to grill out or tailgate, and then buy yourself some Crank Arm beer while you're there. And you'll have a great time. And shout out to the AI Owl. I went through 4 iterations of an AI Owl that I was happy with. That AI Owl came through.
I like the owl.
What you should have seen the other ones. I actually had looked
Were
up.
they menacing?
They were a little too menacing. I also tried doing a owl with a beer, and Photoshop did not know what to do with that.
No,
Photoshop did not know what to do with the AI ask when I put it in the prompt. So maybe next time I'll workshop that. But in the meantime, we got a little snow owl there on the OG After Dark on the ice. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Big thanks to Luke DeCock. Big thanks to Mike Maniscalco. We're going to continue doing this in the next round, and we'll see you on our normal podcast tomorrow morning. We'll have plenty of audio to go through and talk about the Rangers for sure. We will see you then.